Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of MindBody TV. I'm going to share my personal journey of a major, massive upheaval in my life. I'd say the greatest ever, and how I used this work to navigate through this. And specifically, like how your ego could just try to really hold on to your matrix of fear. And I've seen this in medicine with like, oh, now I need to do that diet, or oh, this is just die-off symptoms, and now we got to manage that. And they're moving forward, they're taking responsibility, they're understanding like I'm in charge, my body heals itself, but then it's this never-ending whack-a-mole game of more work, more problems, more work. And I'm going to explain it the way it was first explained to me by one of my mentors, Sylvia Olivier. And I'm going to really share like what it was like to be battling my ego and not know it, and be in that dimension of like, you're always almost there. And it sucked, but it was exactly what I needed. And so there's a couple principles that we're going to play with here. One is you are divine. You are human and divine. You are not separate from divinity. And as connected, being connected in divinity, connected with divinity, you are not separate from that source. We'll just call it source. You can call it whatever you like. You are not separate from that. And when you really get this, you realize I am that. That is here now within me. And I can trust that. I can trust that divine being that I am to create my life to match the wholeness, right? Because that's what we're all trying to do is like, you want the body to show up in health. You want your money to show up in abundance. You want your relationship to show up in love. But if you're doing it as the small self who's separate from what you want and separate from source, you will never get there. All right, so tap in the comments if this resonates with you, if you have experienced your journey as like curiously keeping you on the hamster wheel in some ways. And I'm going to show you, this is going to be a 4-part series. And this first series is just like how to begin to see. This is the light bulb moment. Aha, wait a minute. And that's the most important part because it kind of just breaks the spell and you have the opportunity to step in to something higher. Okay, so welcome everybody. Where are you tuning in from? I'm going to bring in, put it in the comments here for me, please. But I'm going to bring in what I used last week in our Embracing Health call, which I talked about the same concept in a different way. And this is what was explained to me many years back from Sylvie Olivier of Golden Heart Wisdom. Okay, so basically, and I did write on this, but I'm going to kind of use this same diagram because it was just really serves the purpose. So as we, we're in the center, I am, right? This infinite being showing up in a apparently human form, right? We appear to be physical. We appear to be separate. We appear to be a solid meat suit, but we begin to become aware, like, I'm not just my body. There's more to this. However, as we're apart from that, we're further out, there's more filters. We don't perceive ourselves as I am, right? When I healed my body years back, I'm powerfully healthy and strong. And guess what? My body absorbed. And guess what? My body reflected. I was powerful, healthy, and strong. I was no longer diseased. I was no longer living in pain. I was no longer in chronic fatigue. My body was a reflection of who I chose to be. And I chose to remember somehow within me, I know I am powerful and I can just choose. So we can activate that part. But usually we're in a filter. Yeah, right. Airy fairy, whatever. I got to pay my bills. And here's what I know about money. And here's what I know about working hard. And here's what I know about having the right job. And oh, as a woman, that means I'm going to blah, blah, blah. We have stories. Because I've heard people I know like, well, I'm a single mom. And so therefore I have to blah, blah, blah. You got a story. And so out in this like 3D, we call it the third dimension. That's the physical, solid, separate reality. Okay. There's a right and a wrong. If we do it right, things are going to go well. I got to get the right job. I got to study hard. I got to get the right, I got to work hard and make money and get a job. And like, there are rules. And in that conditional reality, we subscribe to the rules. Okay. But we begin to wake up, right? Life gives us a kick in the butt. And this is in the Be Your Own Healer book. I talk a lot about this in the second book. Goes way more in depth. However, we're going to just touch on this. Life will give you like, sorry, not going to work for you. And people will say, I got cancer. I did everything right. Or I lost my job, or I went bankrupt, or my spouse left me. Life is happening to me. And then it's going to give you a kick in the butt, kind of to help you out. You realize, wait a minute, I followed all the rules and it didn't go how it's supposed to go. There must be something here that's not actually true. Maybe there's more. And we come into this fourth dimensional space. I'm a co-creator. It's up to me. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. I'm going to make it happen. Law of attraction, right? So I have power, but it's still based, that's what this part is for, these two dimensions, in lack, separation, and fear. I'm still separate from that thing I want. I got to manifest it. Oh, I didn't do the manifesting right. Let me tap harder. Let me, really buckle down now. I'm still separate from what I want. It's not that I am. So I'm doing all these things and I'm learning and I'm growing. And people, a lot of times they'll find our work when they kind of just get booted out of that matrix. Like, nothing's working for me. I'm aware that's not my path. There's something more. We're open. It is a higher consciousness. Awesome. But you will actually evolve through and beyond this. And the way it was described to me is like, you kind of get more and more and more personal power, but you do eventually have to let go of the matrix of fear and separation and embrace the matrix of wholeness, the matrix of love. In the matrix of love, there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to figure out. There's nowhere to get. That doesn't make sense in rationality, right? Love is a higher frequency than rationality. So you'll never understand it before you let it in. So this one takes like a quantum leap in willingness. I am willing to enter into something I don't understand. Something that my matrix says, I can't do it. I don't know how. It's not possible. It's airy-fairy BS. That's, for someone else, but not me. It's only through, you could say faith, you could say trust. Trust. I trust that I actually am what I'm seeking, even though it doesn't appear to be true. I trust that I already am whole, even though, right, I might be in pain or things appear to be falling apart. Okay, I got to just put this here because it really sets the stage for what I want to share about what happened personally. Okay, so I asked for miracles in my primary relationship because I wanted even more connection, intimacy, depth, play, like a lot more cohesiveness. And as I was aware, we have always had an amazing relationship. I thought the best marriage of anybody we saw around us. However, when I asked for this, everything that was not aligned with what I was asking for came up at a 10 out of 10 in ways I had never seen, I wasn't aware of. And so this is what happens, right? The matrix is going to show you. It is going to mirror for you. It mirrored for me a lot of SHIT about myself. And it actually came in the form of my partner sitting me down and like spilling it all out. And it was the hardest, most excruciating, not like as I sat there listening to it, but like the reverberation of it. All the ways I made myself wrong. I freaked out. I fought. It wasn't even I fought. My ego fought so hard. I didn't even know what was happening. And so if you are, I was communicating with lots of people, getting help, getting support, but feeling so everything in me that was not peace, everything in me that was not what I was asking for came up at a 20 out of 10. And when I say excruciating, you guys, like there are no words. And I want to bring this back because when Sylvie told me about this, she said the hardest layer, you're going to come through all these layers of protection, protecting you from wholeness, protecting you from I am source. Like we got to protect ourselves from knowing we're source. Well, good to have those rules in there because you don't trust yourself. If you don't trust yourself, you're going to make a mess. How do I move into this? So there are all these layers. And then this one last layer of kind of before you're in full and complete surrender. Because you could bounce back and forth, but we kind of keep these little nuggets of like, just in case I need it. I've got the separate self to fend for myself. I've got the separate self she knows how to protect herself. And that actually ended up kicking me in the butt royally, creating excruciating pain from the resistance when life was trying to bring me into wholeness or greater wholeness. And and she described it to me. And she told me like these first layers of like, okay, I'm not the body. I'm not the job I have. I'm not the memories, the past. I'm not my relationships. Okay, great. We're good, right? You move through into that. I'm not, but you move beyond what your mind can conceive. And for me, my mind was screaming to hold on. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. And the thing for me to release was the wrongness. Like I had myself hostage for all the SHIT I had on myself of where I was in fear, where I was manipulative, where I was angry, where I was projecting stuff onto another person, where I was in judgment. Right? And it's always the 2%. I'm not judgy. I love people, right? But is there 2%? Right? Because when you're going into greater wholeness, you got to let go of those tiny little nuggets, all of it. That's where you're making space. And so the ego can just justify the heck out of this. That's why if you got to go in 100%. If you go in 98%, I'm telling you that 2% kicked me in the butt. And I had all of the reasons I'm right, all of the stories that showed up in my reality of how right I am and why I do need to protect myself. I'm not safe. I mean, when I say got projected on my reality is true, because that's what the ego does. The ego is trying to save itself. It's not actually trying to save you because you're already whole. Okay, so this was what I experienced, and this was how like my first step of navigating through it, right? Which I'm putting together a way to assist you in doing the same thing, like a 4-week series that we'll do like a course called Unwind Your Matrix, because there was so much like I could witness the thoughts coming through, and then I could witness how it would make my body feel, and then I could witness cycling back to like justification. There would be this little bit of relief in understanding it. Now I know what to do. Okay, so here's the one thing that really unwinded it is you've got to get distinct about, is this peace? Because when the ego is right and the ego knows what to do and the ego's got it handled, and it will feel like relief. And you guys, I'm telling you, when you want relief from excruciating pain that you think you can't go through, you let it hijack you. And then you stay in the whack-a-mole game. Doing this, doing that. And in some ways, I'm seeing for years that was still happening. And then expanding into more wholeness, expanding more wholeness. You cannot hold this construct of separation, lack, and fear, construct of the protected personality, and move into greater wholeness. That there is a point where it will not only not work, I mean, that'd be one thing, kick you in the butt so hard that you're in holy hell. And I was in my own version of holy hell. And everything in my life, like people not talking to me, all of the loneliness and isolation and abandonment and the projection I was in, it was all of my own worst fears. Everything in my matrix that said, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, rejection. Because if you hear, if you reject others, you're really rejecting yourself. If you judge others, you really judge yourself. I felt that judgment at like a 10 out of 10, all directed at me, right? And projection is like they're judging me. But in this experience I was at, I was aware my holding judgment is judging me. My holding, it's like it's just a mirror. Your matrix is a mirror. Okay, so the one thing that was so helpful was trust. To remember my matrix is a mirror. Somehow, somewhere, in the higher being that I am orchestrating this for my own awakening. Now, that's tricky to do when people come through embracing health and like, oh my God, I had this heinous chronic illness. I thought I was going to die. I was living in excruciating pain. I didn't get out of the bed for 3 years with long COVID or autoimmune. And then they heal and they tell me that illness was the best thing that ever happened to me. I never would have known how to get my power back. I never would have had that sense of inner connection and the relationships and the life and the clarity that I have today. It was my ally. Okay, that's all well and good. This is like a whole new meta level of, I'm so grateful for this dissolution happening because it awakened me myself. I had my niece during this send me this message. She said, you sent me this so long ago, and I use it during my most challenging times and most challenging experiences. And she said, I repeat it to myself, anytime I don't understand why something is happening, how can this be the best thing that ever happened to me? And when I would ask, how can this be the best thing that ever happened to me? It wasn't that I instantly felt so insightful and so light, but I did remember, wait a minute, if life is a mirror, why would it benefit me to see this, to have this experience, right? Because if it's internalized and suppressed, you're just like running that program, right? Life is just busy. Life is just overwhelming. Relationships can't be perfect. But as soon as you ask to see, you cannot hide. You cannot suppress it. You can't put it away for later. You are in it. And who will you be in it was the question. How is this the greatest thing that could be happening for me? And I saw, oh, there's the I am that I am created this to show me my way out, to show me what's in my matrix, to show me where my matrix makes myself wrong, I ostracizes and judges myself, abandons myself, makes myself wrong. I said that one already because it was just so much. It was excruciating. And then I remember, wait a minute, trust. This is happening for me. How could this be the best thing? Oh, I could be free from ever fighting, fixing, or resolving this again, right? The feelings of disconnection from others, the feelings of non-peace, the feelings of anger at this person, frustration with this person. Oh, I can't believe. And all the ways I haven't been in my wholeness in my life and in my relationship. And then it went through like, well, I would need him to da. And yeah, every relationship's a two-way street. But what I actually saw that was true is it's in me. 100% of the resolution that I'm looking for is 100% in me. Does not involve anyone else, does not require anyone else. Was the ego doing that loop? Absolutely, requiring someone else. And not that like we won't work through things together, but it doesn't require anyone else. The people who are aligned with where you're going will be strengthened and come forward, and you might see them just magically step into a even higher version of themselves that they've been waiting for you to do. Or other people will fall away that are not in the frequency that you choose. So, gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. Don't fall for it. Wake up, remember the trust. If I already am the wholeness, then the part of me that hopes this works out isn't actually, that's not the true part of me. If I'm already in the wholeness, why is this the best thing that's ever happened to me? Who do I get to be that is higher than who I was being before. Now, you can't already understand it. You can't already know it. And I'm telling you, everything in your matrix will show you that you can't trust. Like everything in my matrix justified hanging on to these limiting behaviors and limiting perspectives, the perspectives of I'm separate. And therefore I have something to defend against or fight or handle. Yeah, and that nightmare that's been like this low grade, whatever, for years in my life is over. Or at least ending, because like there are reverberations of get and loop back in. And I put my hand on my heart. There's very specific tools I used to like connect with that part of me that does not know wholeness, connect with that part of me that is screaming to fight and to escape. I mean, screaming. Connect with the part of me that doesn't know wholeness. And so, whenever you put your hands to your heart, you're activating the electromagnetics of your heart. Super powerful. And so you can start with that. I will be putting a program together for you that will bring you through more of a in-depth process of this ego dissolution. But holy freaking what? Do not believe anything you think. And do not believe anything you see. Because I'm telling you, the matrix will show up as the reflection of your pain body in a very convincing illusion. The matrix will show up as a disease and as a, you got to do this. And I'm not saying don't go and get treated for disease. I'm saying don't engage in the illusion that you're not already whole and that your well-being is conditional and survival and like, okay, I receive the resources that assist my wholeness. So do it from wholeness, do it from peace. My intention is to live my life from a foundation of peace unconditionally, to own and be fully responsible for my experience and my outcomes, even in relationships that involve other people. I mean, that's kind of basic, but I wasn't doing it. I made a whole list. Here it is. To stay curious, open, and receptive when things appear to be falling apart and not going well. To know that I am loved unconditionally and to trust that, which my partner does love me unconditionally. And I'm telling you guys, in my matrix of where I went, I literally couldn't see that. Like I saw the opposite. But some part of me knew, like, stay curious. What's actually happening here? Thank God I have such an amazing partner. Share with, be in your joy. There's other things I'll share in this series, but like joy was the way out. Like there is truth in joy. Your nature is lightness. Okay, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I'll be back next week with another kind of nugget of this because we are all moving into that oneness consciousness. We just are. And God, it can be a mess on the way. It really can. But it can be maybe 2% smoother for you as a result of watching this. All right. I love you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon. I'll be sharing live. We'll post these on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. in the MindBody community and in my YouTube channel. Hallelujah. Woohoo. Let's keep moving into truth, into trust, and into love. Bye.